U.S. economy shows K-shaped growth amid rising AI investment, job market concerns. The U.S. economy shows a K-shaped pattern. AI-heavy sectors and high earners are advancing while many workers face slower gains in a softer job market. Global corporate investment in AI totaled $252.3 billion in 2024, with private investment up 44.5%, underscoring the scale of spending but not all of it occurring in the United States. Analysts note that this surge in capital allocation is deepening inequality between technology-driven firms and smaller businesses that struggle to adapt. Meanwhile, labor data signal cooling momentum. The U.S. unemployment rate rose to 4.3% in August 2025, and the number of long-term unemployed reached about 1.9 million, the highest since early 2022. Wage growth has been uneven, with slower progress among lower-educated workers and women in several industries, raising concerns about job displacement and unequal benefits from AI adoption. Economists warn that headline AI outlays may mask structural weaknesses, particularly for regions and companies less exposed to tech investment. Overall, the outlook pairs strong, concentrated capital spending with a labor market losing some steam, highlighting both the promise and the imbalances of the AI-driven boom.
AI is being overhyped at this point.
AI investment sounds exciting on paper, but most of the gains go to the big corporations, not regular people. It's like the tech boom all over again: profits at the top, job cuts at the bottom.
America's growth really means the growth of the stock market and not the actual American people. Not to mention the pressure AI is putting on local resources, electricity and water. The poor and mid-class will have to suffer to help fund his tax cuts to his rich.
Trump authorizes CIA operations in Venezuela, signals possible land strikes. President Trump has confirmed that he authorized covert CIA operations in Venezuela and indicated that land-based strikes may be next. He framed the decision as necessary to stem drug flows, especially fentanyl, and accused Venezuela of emptying prisons into the United States, though no independent verification has emerged. In recent weeks, U.S. military forces have struck suspected drug vessels off Venezuela's coast, causing at least 6 deaths in the latest incident. Cumulatively, Trump says around 27 individuals have been killed across multiple maritime operations. The administration contends it has reclassified certain drug cartels as unlawful combatants to justify military force under a declared non-international armed conflict. In Congress, lawmakers from both parties have questioned the legality of these actions and invoked constitutional war powers. Critics argue that drug trafficking does not constitute an armed conflict under international law. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro condemned the operations as U.S. aggression and mobilized domestic militia forces, announcing plans to bring the matter before the UN Security Council. As the scope of U.S. military activity in the region expands, questions over oversight, evidence, and international law are mounting, even as the Trump administration defends its approach as a bold front against narcotics that threaten American lives.
I am concerned about the legality of smuggling fentanyl. How about concerned with all the homeless and fentanyl in our state?
Do drug dealers get an immediate death sentence, but child rapists get life in prison?
Sinking it prevents discovering no drugs. Imagine being more concerned with drug smugglers than U.S. citizens.
Is there any proof that there are drugs on these boats?
Still no proof offered on boats.
They're concerned because it affects their bank accounts.
Vance dismisses racist messages in young Republican chats. Vice President J.D. Vance dismissed the uproar over leaked racist, anti-Semitic, and violent messages exchanged by young Republican leaders as a youth misstep rather than a defining scandal. Following a Politico expose of thousands of pages of chats, including praise for Hitler, threats of gas chambers, and racial slurs, Vance characterized the content as stupid things done by kids, despite participants ranging in age from their 20s to 40s. The leaks involved leaders in states like Kansas, New York, Arizona, and Vermont. Among those implicated were William Hendricks, vice chair of Kansas Young Republicans, and Peter Junta, former chair of New York State Young Republicans. After the revelations, Hendricks lost a communications post and several others faced resignations or job losses. The Kansas Young Republicans chapter was made inactive in the aftermath, though several Republican leaders, including Representative Elise Stefanik and Vermont Governor Phil Scott, condemned the chat content and called for accountability. Vance warned against destroying lives over private speech. The controversy underscores deep tensions over standards of conduct, social media accountability, and how political organizations manage internal speech in the information age.
"18 to 40 are adults, not kids."
Kids? Half of them are older than Don Jr.
18 to 40 is an adult, not a kid.
These racists are in their 30s and older. Hardly kids. Remember, Stephen Miller has videos from high school of himself praising torture. His peers laughed, but he wasn't joking. We need to understand that sometimes it's not edgelord humor, it's a serious call for sadism.
40-year-old kids is an accurate description of MAGA mental prowess. This is GOP leadership in a nutshell. Playing the victim in public while talking about gas chambers and criminalizing voting in private.
Some kids even grow up to be J.D. Vance. What a creep.
New tariffs on wood products take effect. Consumers expected to pay more. New U.S. tariffs on imported wood products, furniture, and kitchen cabinets took effect on October 14, introducing duties of roughly 10% on lumber and 25% on cabinets and upholstered furniture. Analysts from Goldman Sachs and other firms estimate U.S. consumers will bear over half of the cost, with projections of 55% this year rising to as much as 70% next year. These tariffs, aimed primarily at Chinese imports under Section 232 authority, seek to bolster domestic manufacturing and counter perceived unfair trade practices. However, economists warn that reshoring production faces headwinds due to higher U.S. labor costs, and some businesses may delay hiring or investment as margins tighten. While the administration frames the move as a strategic realignment, U.S. agricultural exporters such as soybean farmers now confront retaliatory tariffs and increased market uncertainty. The broader burden of tariff escalation remains contested, as observers debate how much costs will ultimately fall on households versus exporters and whether industrial policy goals will offset the inflationary impact.
Inflation up, unemployment up, exports down, dollar down 11%, tourism down. Oh well, I guess this is what winning looks like.
Oh look, what we said would happen is happening.
Release the Epstein files.
I saw somewhere that most farmers still support Trump, like 70%. I guess they still can sustain more loss maybe?
I do not want my tariff dollars to go to a bailout for people who created their own problem. Imagine being a business owner and voting for the policies that will destroy your business. It would not be unlike me voting for the man that wanted to shoot me, and then being surprised and outraged that the bullet hurt me.
Starting to think Trump is trying to destroy America and make the economy crash. Who else thinks this?
Farmers voted for this clown twice. No sympathy. Your farms will be bought out by corporations. Congratulations.
Are we great yet? Giving $20 to bail out Argentina as they sell soybeans to China.
Pentagon revokes press credentials for dozens of journalists. Dozens of Pentagon correspondents have relinquished their press credentials and vacated their Pentagon offices in protest of a new reporting policy imposed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Under the revised guidelines, journalists who refuse to acknowledge rules limiting solicitation of unapproved information, classified or not, risk revocation of their Pentagon access. Several news organizations, including Reuters and Fox News, declined to sign, citing threats to press freedom and transparency. The Pentagon Press Association and legal experts warned the policy could transform routine newsgathering into punishable conduct and act as a de facto gag order inconsistent with First Amendment protections. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell defended the rules as necessary and reasonable, emphasizing that reporters must simply acknowledge, not agree with, security protocols. Estimates suggest at least 30 to 50 credentialed journalists have surrendered access, though the precise number remains disputed. Only one outlet, One America News, is known to have accepted the terms. While reporters cease in building coverage, many vow to persist in covering Pentagon affairs from alternative vantage points, pressing the department to reconsider the controversial restrictions.
Good, a free press is a cornerstone of democracy.
He has not only lost public trust, he has betrayed public trust.
America isn't on its way to fascism. America under Trump is already there.
Going to lose public trust? Nope, we, the people, already lost trust a long time ago when Hegseth first took over. Not even his former employers at Fox could stomach Hegseth's new guidelines. Rather telling. Keep the pressure on this regime and bring it down. We will not be the generation that loses out democracy.
No, good job everyone, resist.
Most of the civilized world is anti-fascist. Where do we sign up?
Dang, even Fox News refused to sign.
Trump accuses China of halting soybean buys, escalating trade tensions. President Trump accused China of deliberately shunning U.S. soybean purchases during a White House meeting with Argentine President Javier Milei, intensifying trade tensions amid the announcement of a $20 billion economic support package to Argentina. Chinese buyers have reportedly purchased at least 10 cargoes of Argentine soybeans following Buenos Aires' suspension of export taxes, effectively sidelining U.S. farmers. Trump termed China's actions an economically hostile act and hinted at retaliatory measures, potentially targeting cooking oil imports. The Chinese embassy responded by urging restraint and rejecting threats while inviting diplomatic dialogue. The Argentina rescue package, structured largely as a currency swap, has stirred criticism within the U.S., especially among soybean farmers who feel the administration is propping up what they see as a competitor. The timing and strategic context, amid shifting Chinese sourcing and evolving global agricultural patterns, raise questions about the balancing of trade, foreign policy, and domestic agricultural priorities. As administration officials push for deeper ties with Argentina and a reshaping of soybean supply chains, the controversy underscores how trade, politics, and agricultural interests increasingly intertwine in this era of global realignment.
He is such an idiot.
He couldn't be this stupid. Didn't he start the tariff war? Geez.
The farmers voted for Trump.
Trump accuses China of purposefully not buying U.S. soybeans. Well duh. Which part of trade war didn't Donnie understand?
China is not allowed to sell what it wants to sell, electric cars, phones. China is not allowed to buy what it wants to buy, chips. China must sell what the U.S. wants to buy, rare earths. China must buy what the U.S. wants to sell, soybeans.
Nothing this dictator does is any good for 98% of U.S. citizens.
Tariffs are a tax on the working class to pay for billionaire tax cuts. Farmers lost 42% of their market in Trump's first tariff trade war. Voting for him again was pure insanity.
U.S. signals tariff delay as Treasury seeks to ease tensions with China. U.S. officials signaled de-escalation rather than capitulation. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Washington wants to avoid unnecessary escalation with Beijing while ensuring China cannot dominate global rare earth supply chains. He also left open the possibility of delaying the newly threatened 100% tariffs on Chinese goods to create space for diplomacy ahead of a potential Trump-Xi meeting on the sidelines of the APEC Leaders Summit in Zhengzhou on October 31st to November 1st. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer called China's October 9th export controls an overreach that undermines prior understandings, noting China's outsized role. About 70% of mining and roughly 80 to 90% of separation and processing. The administration framed its approach as de-risking, working with allies to diversify supply and build strategic stockpiles. While farm relief is being prepared to cushion trade blowback, legal and policy details on any tariff delay remain unsettled. For now, the White House is balancing leverage and restraint, threatening tariffs if talks fail, but signaling flexibility if Beijing narrows its controls and restores predictable access to rare earth inputs critical to U.S. industry and defense.
You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time.
Nobody is buying this nonsense. America and China could have had a very prosperous relationship, but America has been doing its utmost to paint China as a villain and to slow down their rise. It was a massive missed opportunity for the peoples of both countries. Now America keeps digging itself into a deeper and deeper hole.
Make Argentina great again.
Bullies cry after being bullied.
We want to help China, not to hurt, ha 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 ha.
Not on any side, but such hypocrisy. You stopped GPU exports to China, they stopped your rare earths.
China versus the world? What country started a trade war against the world?
It is not China against the world. It is China against USA, and we all know it.
USA put tariffs to 165 countries, highest to China, and now is saying is China versus the world?
Federal judge blocks Trump administration federal worker layoffs. A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from issuing new layoffs or enforcing reduction in force notices sent since October 10, in response to lawsuits brought by unions representing federal workers. U.S. District Judge Susan Ilston in California granted a restraining order after hearing arguments that the cuts exceeded executive authority and appeared politically motivated. To date, several thousand employees across multiple agencies have received layoff notices, and the White House has floated plans to terminate more than 10,000 over the course of the shutdown. But those already issued notices will not automatically be reinstated under the judge's order, leaving their employment status in legal limbo. The administration has expressed intent to pursue workforce reductions as part of its effort to shrink federal bureaucracy under Project 2025, but faces significant legal, procedural, and political obstacles. Meanwhile, the government shutdown, now extending into its third week, continues to leave many non-critical federal employees unpaid. As this legal battle unfolds, both sides brace for appeals and further court rulings that may ultimately define the limits of executive power during funding lapses.
So it's illegal to lay off gov workers, but regular workers get layoffs because it said we'll work law for us. Lol.
A judge in California can't stop layoffs in D.C.
Good luck with that. The Supreme Court has already voted on the president's authority to fire employees of departments under his executive authority.
Since the government is shut down, people should not pay taxes either.
We're still dealing with this crap.
Too bad the Supreme Court told judges to stop trying to be president. Ignore them.
In a fascist state, the government manufactures propaganda to divide its citizens, turning groups against each other to maintain control. By creating internal enemies and amplifying fear, it weakens collective resistance and consolidates power around the ruling regime.
I wish judges would protect non-government employees this much.
U.S. condemns China's expanded rare earth export restrictions. China announced on October 9 a sweeping expansion of export controls over rare earth elements and associated technologies, triggering sharp criticism from U.S. officials. The new rules, effective in phases beginning November 8 and December 1, require exporters to obtain Chinese government licenses for goods, including magnets and semiconductors, containing more than 0.1% Chinese origin rare earths are made using Chinese mining or processing technology. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer denounced the move as a global supply chain power grab and economic coercion, warning that Beijing's tighter grip threatens global technology and defense supply chains. China defended the initiative as necessary for safeguarding resource security and controlling dual-use items. Analysts interpret the timing as a calculated countermeasure amid heightened U.S.-China tensions and as leverage ahead of a planned Trump-Xi summit in South Korea. Given China's dominance, over 90% of rare earth processing globally, the controls could force foreign firms into licensing regime compliance or risk export hurdles. The U.S. and its allies are now under pressure to diversify sources and accelerate domestic capacity to counterbalance China's strategic maneuver.
When the U.S. bans China, it's protecting national security. But when China bans the U.S., suddenly it's a threat to global trade and freedom. Talk about hypocrisy.
The world has no problem, it's only the USA.
Who started the tariff war? Americans are crying like kindergarten kids.
US gets a taste of its own medicine and now they are screaming in panic. Thank you President Xi and greetings from Belgium.
It is not global chaos, it is American chaos, law.
No one believes the US narrative, and who is left as US allies?
How dare you fight back while we try to destroy you? That's not how this works.
This is not China versus the world. This is China versus the USA. If the US had the rare earth, they would have destroyed the earth by now. China is respected for they are the only ones who can defeat the US.
WTF they are on about? They started the trade war, and when someone strikes back, they are playing the victim like their master Israel.
Trump to discuss Tomahawk missile supply to Ukraine. President Trump suggested on October 12 that he may discuss providing long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine during a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky, rumored to take place around October 17. He framed the potential transfer as leverage to push Russia towards serious negotiations. Zelensky has indicated any Tomahawks would be directed solely at Russian military assets, not civilian targets. Moscow condemned the suggestion as a dangerous escalation. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov warned of grave destabilizing effects if the U.S. delivers such weapons. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko echoed the concern, arguing that the move could provoke nuclear escalation. Trump reportedly plans to consult Russian President Vladimir Putin before deciding on a final commitment. As the White House and Kyiv weigh the risks and strategic payoff, the Tomahawk proposal illustrates the intensifying stakes in the U.S.-Ukraine-Russia dynamic, where advanced weapons decisions increasingly carry geopolitical weight.
Someone still thinks that the war against Russia are like in Hollywood movies. You do not threaten the country with the biggest arsenal of nuclear weapons on Earth. Trump is an idiot. That would directly make US involved in this situation. World War III.
Did Trump think what if Russia also sent Orishnik missile to US opponents?
The problem with that, Donnie, is that the USA is NATO.
Hearing him saying Russia is afraid, he's still dreaming.
That war should have not started. We are sick and tired of this statement from a warmonger.
Tomahawks are not defensive weapons. NATO is supposed to be a defensive alliance.
Russia is fighting with all Europe and America, NATO, but literally it is said Ukraine.
Tomahawk needs US to operate them, meaning US has entered war against Russia.
Hamas executes alleged collaborators, returns fewer hostage bodies amid Gaza ceasefire. Hamas is accused of executing individuals it labeled as collaborators with Israel and of returning fewer deceased hostages than stipulated under the ceasefire agreement. The group has handed over 8 coffins of dead hostages so far, citing destruction and access limitations as barriers to retrieving the rest. Israel contends that at least 19 bodies remain unreturned, threatening renewed military pressure and briefly suspending operations at the Rafah crossing over the delay. Within Gaza, after the ceasefire, Hamas has reportedly launched an internal crackdown, with public executions, arrests, and raids targeting suspected collaborators or rival armed groups. Analysts argue these actions aim to preempt dissent and reaffirm Hamas's monopoly on security and governance. Meanwhile, humanitarian agencies warn that Gaza continues to suffer severe disruptions in aid flow. Many areas remain inaccessible, supply lines are constrained, and the devastation has amplified the burden on relief operations. The dispute over bodies and control in Gaza now stands as one of the most volatile flashpoints testing the ceasefire's durability.
And there are still some who open their mouths to defend these Hamas monsters.
Where's Greta and her truck to go now? Anyone who believes that T3 Rurist Force is C0RRUPT fulfill words is very innocent. Now would be the time for Greta and her gang to go and help rebuild Gaza and hug their Hamas partners.
Hamas terrorists use human shields to keep their grip on territory. There can be no dialogue with terrorists.
Hamas doesn't want an end to the war.
You can't make deals with these guys.
Trump confirms covert CIA operations in Venezuela. President Donald Trump on Wednesday publicly confirmed he had authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela, citing drug trafficking and the alleged transfer of prisoners to the United States as justification. The rare acknowledgement followed recent U.S. military strikes in the Caribbean that destroyed at least 5 boats, killing 27 people, 4 of which reportedly originated from Venezuela. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro condemned the move as a grave violation of international law, accusing Washington of reviving Cold War-style regime change tactics. Lawmakers from both parties expressed concern that Trump's declaration effectively amounts to an act of war without congressional approval. Senator Jeanne Shaheen warned the U.S. was being drawn into another conflict with no oversight, while human rights groups questioned the legality of the strikes, describing them as potential extrajudicial killings. The White House has provided no concrete evidence that the targeted vessels carried narcotics.
The fight against drug trafficking is a facade. The U.S.'s real objective is to control Venezuela's oil reserves.
Let the games begin. Hold on, Venezuelan people, freedom is coming.
Maduro, be quiet, the guys on the roof are trying to kill me.
Send it here to Rio de Janeiro and Brasilia, we need it badly.
There is no intervention by another country, there is invasion and war.
President of Venezuela? Is he president?
He's not the president, he's a narco-dictator who has usurped power in Venezuela.
Israeli group accuses military of genocide amid Gaza ceasefire instability. Ceasefire implementation remains shaky amid disputes over the return of hostages remains and the volume of humanitarian aid. UN Relief Chief Tom Fletcher has voiced concern and urged a significant scale-up in assistance. Israel has at times kept the Rafah crossing closed while allowing aid through Kerem Shalom, with daily truck entries fluctuating and, on some days, roughly half the agreed level. Some senior European officials have compared the scale of destruction in Gaza to the devastation of German cities in 1945, underscoring the severity of the crisis. Hamas continues to reject disarmament and has carried out executions of alleged collaborators during its internal crackdown. Against this backdrop, mediators press both sides to meet commitments so that aid access broadens and the ceasefire's next phase, covering additional returns and governance arrangements, can proceed.
Israel won't make a ceasefire over something like this. After all, they want that land, so they will invade whether Hamas is there or not.
I thought they wouldn't last a few months, 6 months, or a year or two at most anyway, and that they'd be right back in the fight again. But they were 100 times faster.
What Hamas did was atrocious, but the original cause was Israel's occupation policy, and Israel gets no sympathy because it is promoting this policy rather than stopping it. I didn't know there were still people with a human heart in Israel.
I still think they will impose ceasefire conditions that are clearly unenforceable, and then resume again for non-performance.
I'm sure there are a lot of hostages who died in the Israeli bombing.
The modern Holocaust.
That's because they wouldn't be able to find them if they were blowing up the whole hostage situation.
You'd have to be crazy to think the hostages are still alive after seeing this.
Japan sees record bear incidents, fatalities amid intensified control efforts. From April to September 2025, Japan recorded 99 bear-related injury incidents affecting 108 people, and 7 deaths, the highest number since official record-keeping began in 2006. Authorities say this surge reflects worsening food shortages, climate impacts on hibernation cycles, and rural depopulation pushing bears closer to human settlements. In Iwate Prefecture, a man found dead on October 8 in the Kitakami area was confirmed to have been mauled by a bear, contributing to the record death toll. Meanwhile, on October 16, a 60-year-old male hot spring worker at a resort in Iwate disappeared under suspicious circumstances. Police discovered bloodstains, a pair of glasses, and scattered cleaning tools near the site and suspect a bear attack. Hokkaido and northeastern prefectures have reported heightened bear activity in recent months, prompting renewed calls for stricter measures. As part of ongoing policy adjustments, discussions are underway to allow municipalities to authorize emergency shootings of dangerous bears in residential zones, though full legal implementation is still pending. National safety campaigns urge residents to secure food waste, avoid walking in forested areas at dawn or dusk, and install bear deterrents.
How many more victims would it take for the country to get serious?
As long as there are bad guys living in Japan who think they are good guys who feel sorry for killing this monster, this damage will not decrease.
If the government doesn't act now, the number of victims will only increase.
It's too tragic to be killed just for cleaning an open-air bath. And if you're unlucky, it also means that your guests are being attacked naked.
I'm too scared of being attacked in an open-air bath.
Something about someone being kidnapped or missing every day. It's really bad. There are too many individuals.
If we don't stop talking about protection and start exterminating them and adjusting the population, they won't be able to live in peace in the future.
Japan parties negotiate coalitions ahead of Diet session. Japan's political landscape is in flux following Komito's exit from the ruling coalition on October 10. In the coming extraordinary Diet session, the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, is actively negotiating a coalition with Nippon Ishin no Kai, Japan Innovation Party, aiming to secure support for Sanae Takaichi in her upcoming prime ministerial bid. Talks are said to be fine-tuning deals to align policies and confirm backing as early as this week. While LDP leader Takaichi has reportedly met with opposition figures including Tamaki of the Democratic Party for the People to explore shared policy priorities, such as addressing the income wall and revising the gasoline surtax, the breakdown with Komito now intensifies the competition for each in backing. Komito, previously the LDP's junior partner for over 2 decades, has withdrawn support and may withhold its vote, forcing the LDP into newly delicate alliances. The final configuration these talks yield will deeply influence Japan's parliamentary arithmetic, legislative agenda, and governance stability in the weeks ahead.
I feel like it's been a long time since I've had a prime minister whose Japanese is easy to understand.
Conservative voters left the LDP and went to the KDP, but no one wants the Rican.
I really don't want you to break your body.
It was the National Democratic Party that Mr. Takaichi approached first. You missed an opportunity.
Mr. Takaichi, you have lost weight. I hope you will take good care of yourself for the sake of Japan. Ganbare, Mr. Takaichi.
I do not support the LDP, but I will support the Takaichi administration. I sense a strong belief in Mr. Takaichi. Please do not give in to despicable pressure. I look forward to the birth of Japan's first female prime minister. Good luck. I don't know anyone this smart, hardworking, and nice, and I support her, and I hope she becomes prime minister.
May Mr. Takaichi not collapse.
Hamas targets outlaws in Gaza amid rising tensions with local clans. Hamas security forces have clashed with rival armed clans in Gaza City, most prominently the Dogmush clan, amid efforts to strengthen internal control following the ceasefire. Reports indicate that fighting erupted in neighborhoods including Sabra, with residents describing firefights, communications blackouts, and forced entry by masked militants. Hamas officials cited their targets as outlaws and collaborators with Israel, claiming the operations aim to restore security and prevent infiltration. The clan in question is one of Gaza's most prominent armed families, with a history of periodic conflict with Hamas. Observers note that some clashes stemmed from accusations that the Dogmush clan had killed Hamas members, prompting retaliation. Local sources claim Hamas deployed thousands of security personnel in the operations, backed by new internal units. Allegations have surfaced of targeted arrests, summary executions, and pre-dawn raids in areas controlled by clans previously tolerated under wartime conditions. Human rights observers warn these moves risk escalating into internal fragmentation, instilling fear among Gaza's residents and complicating humanitarian access and post-war stability. As Hamas attempts to reassert dominance, tensions with clan networks, and with civilians caught in between, are emerging as a central battleground in Gaza's internal politics.
And they knew they were outlaws? They are hidden in the tunnels like rats, for God's sake, Gaza.
They killed Salah al-Jafrawi at the request of Israel, so what did he do then? We have no choice but to kill every traitor and agent of Israel.
70,000 martyrs and we didn't hear a sound, and when some traitors were executed, their braying became louder. The only thing that has lost countries is the traitors inside the country.
Colombian President Petro says confiscated gold will fund Gaza aid. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has announced a new plan to allocate gold seized from drug trafficking organizations toward humanitarian relief in the Gaza Strip. Under the directive, the National Asset Management Agency is to explore legal and logistical pathways for converting confiscated gold into funds for medical care for injured children in Gaza, amid strained wartime conditions and urgent healthcare needs. Petro's foreign policy has increasingly aligned with staunch criticism of Israel. Earlier moves included terminating Colombia's free trade agreement with Israel and ordering Israeli diplomats expelled in October 2025, following interceptions of a Gaza-bound flotilla carrying Colombian citizens. Critics caution that turning seized assets into international aid will require coordination with global financial institutions, transparency in conversion, and rigorous oversight to prevent misuse. As Colombia steps deeper into the geopolitical arena of the Middle East conflict, the feasibility of deploying confiscated wealth for cross-border medical support presents both legal and operational complexities.
His attitude reminded me of that of Najashi. May Allah have mercy on him. May Allah guide his heart to Islam, O Lord. It is as if there is a Najashi for every time.
President Colombi is the world's humanitarian leader. A man of honor and conscience. I ask Allah, the Almighty, the Living, the Qayyum, to put faith in this man's heart and reward him well for his stand in this world and for dying for Islam after a long life, benefiting his country and the Muslims.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro is more honorable than the traitorous Arab rulers.
If only Muslims had such a free and honorable leader. God, how much we respect this man, and by God, his soul is more honorable than all the traitorous Arab rulers and normalizers.
Wealthy Jews serve Israel, look out for its interests, and serve it wholeheartedly, unlike the backward Arabs who gave $5 trillion to Trump on his legendary trip.
God willing, he has faith, fortitude and eloquence despite 33 years of imprisonment, half of which were in solitary confinement. Something that cannot be comprehended by the mind. May God grant him good success in this world and the hereafter.
God, how I respect this heroic man.
Gaza bakeries resume production. Trump announces peace document. Bakeries in Gaza have resumed an expanded bread production with World Food Program support as additional aid trucks enter the Strip, though access and distribution remain uneven and far short of needs. Families continue to face a high risk of famine amid severe shortages of clean water, medical supplies, and fuel. At a summit in Sharm el-Sheikh, President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire framework and said a comprehensive document outlining rules and regulations was agreed with leaders from Qatar, Turkey, and Egypt, praising mediation as an unprecedented achievement. The precise legal status and signatories of the document have not been independently detailed. Tensions persist over the return of deceased hostages remains. Hamas has now transferred 10 of the 28 bodies it says it can access, citing rubble and the need for specialized recovery equipment. Israel insists all remains be returned before moving to the next phase and has at times restricted crossings while threatening renewed military pressure. Analysts warn that maximalist demands and mutual mistrust could quickly unravel the ceasefire despite modest humanitarian gains.
Palestine babies, I prayed for you all for 2 years. Now enjoy your freedom. Why is Trump acting like he resolved the whole conflict?
I bet Israel will use this and other impossible tasks as a way to back out. They do have a record of reneging on all their previous ceasefires with other countries. I don't believe they will hold true to any ceasefire ever based on recent history.
Hey Al Jazeera, it is not war, it is genocide and mass murders of Palestinians.
So they want to go kill more innocent people to get back a few dead bodies. Unreal.
Bodies. Israel killed their own people. What about the Palestinians who died under the rubbles? What a theater.
So, they killed their own PPL hostages by bombing them, and now it's so important to them to have them back. PFFFFT.
Taking credit for stopping a genocide that he's funding.
Pakistan and Afghanistan agreed to temporary ceasefire after deadly border clashes. Pakistani and Afghan forces exchanged heavy fire overnight along their northwestern frontier, prompting closures at key crossings such as Torkham and Chaman and the suspension of several minor routes. Both sides reported casualties, and villagers fled border districts as artillery and drone strikes escalated a week of hostilities. Pakistan has accused the Taliban government of sheltering Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan militants. Kabul denies the charge and blames Pakistan for cross-border strikes, including attacks reported on October 9. Amid rising concern from regional capitals and the UN, officials announced a 48-hour ceasefire beginning October 15 to allow de-escalation and talks. Humanitarian agencies warn that prolonged disruption at the crossings is stranding cargo and risking shortages. While violence has surged compared with earlier months, comprehensive year-to-date fatality rankings remain preliminary. UN monitors have logged dozens of deaths and hundreds of injuries since October 10. Both Islamabad and Kabul claim the other requested the truce, underscoring fragile trust and the risk that renewed incidents could quickly unravel the pause.
Pakistan Minister. We did America's dirty work.
Allah is with Afghanistan.
Pakistan is attacking Afghanistan for its own internal problems.
If it was between India, Al Jazeera will have a stand, now confused.
Isn't Pakistan the same country which supported and celebrated Taliban return, thinking Taliban will help it to win Kashmir and terrorize India? Pakistan will do anything for money. They will give base to USA to attack Afghanistan. They will give China access to Baluchistan even if it means degradation of Balochis. They will nominate a crackhead like Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. They will attack Afghanistan to look like the favorites of the West.
The Pakistani army will do any dirty work for the US dollar.
Why Al Jazeera didn't have any reporters inside Afghanistan?
Pakistan doing America's dirty work. Dollar Army Pakistan.